What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., and everything you need to know about money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, stimulus check update, and daily news. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date here. And also, thank you so much for hitting the like button. You guys are amazing. The U.S. says that Russia could invade Ukraine as early as tomorrow. And the U.S. may have to initiate sanctions against Russia.
Good evening once again. I'm Chris Jansing. Day 391 of the Biden administration. And there is growing concern tonight about the tense situation in Eastern Europe. U.S. officials warn that Russia is in a position to invade Ukraine at any moment amid a dramatic acceleration of Russian forces at Ukraine's border. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is scheduled to travel and meet with NATO allies in Belgium, Poland, and Lithuania this week to discuss those ongoing tensions. Today, Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said Vladimir Putin is still adding to his military capabilities.
He continues to advance his readiness should he choose to go down a military path here. Should he choose to invade again, he is doing all the things you would expect him to do to make sure he's ready for that option.
But even as Russia bolsters its troops and resources, the Kremlin is also striking a noticeably different rhetorical tone. The New York Times reports, quote, "In stage-managed televised meetings, the Kremlin sent its strongest signals yet that it would seek further negotiations with the West rather than launch immediate military action. I believe that our possibilities are far from exhausted," Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said, referring to Russia's negotiations with the West. "I would propose continuing and intensifying them." NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel brings us the latest on where the crisis stands from Ukraine tonight.
With diplomacy going nowhere, this is not a good sign. Russian troops in Belarus practicing urban combat. U.S. officials say this week is critical, declaring Russia is now able to attack with little or no warning. So the U.S. is now moving its embassy personnel out of the capital to western Ukraine, a move criticized by Ukraine's President Zelensky, suggesting it showed weakness. And tonight, Zelensky was dismissive of U.S. intelligence that Russia could soon invade, which he says causes panic. They tell us February 16th will be the day of the attack. We will make this a day of unity, he said. His aides later said he was referring to recent media reports. Meanwhile, Ukraine's ambassador to the UK is walking back comments that Ukraine might forego its bid to join NATO, a key Russian demand. This weekend, President Biden spoke with President Putin. No breakthroughs. Russia says it won't invade, but in Ukraine, some families are getting ready for war. Training to handle an AK-47 is Valentina Konstantinovskaya, a 79-year-old retired accountant and a great-grandmother.
Do you think you're going to actually be doing this?
Yes, if Putin will come, I should be able to shoot, she says.
Wow. Trying times here. Could you imagine being in that situation? 79-year-old grandmother. Yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to them. Meanwhile, U.S. Senator Warner says that the U.S. could come under cyber attacks from Russia because of this situation. That's right. Check this out.
Joining me now is Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner, chair of the Intelligence Committee. Senator, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's start there. You've got, the tanks, warships, missiles, ability to take out air defenses, critical infrastructure. What Kirby also said was that there is a de facto blockade right now, a naval blockade with landing ships, so he could be landing forces if he wants to. How concerned are you that we're seeing no sign of de-escalation, and to the contrary, and that these talks don't seem to be getting anywhere, with them still demanding, non-starter positions from NATO and Ukraine?
Putin has moved so many forces so close to the border that he may not even have the ability to fully pull back. And whereas as intelligence and Jake Sullivan from the administration has indicated, where potentially before this might have been a small movement in the east, it now appears that Kyiv, the capital, could be under assault, that you could have a major European land war breaking out literally this week. I do think it's important, and I think one thing the administration has done well is kind of rally NATO. So, as I'm sure your viewers know, virtually every day there's another president, prime minister going to Ukraine. The German chancellor's there today. He'll be in Moscow tomorrow. We're seeing these images of Ukrainians training on the weekend. We hope that's those images Putin is seeing. Putin is so isolated at this point. And I think the intelligence community, by leaning in and indicating, before Russian false flag or an attempt to say Ukrainians started this, where we're showing, hey, if you see a video of what appears to be, Ukrainians attacking Russians with dead bodies, that's actually Russians. Or if you see a coup attempt, that's actually Russia. To forewarn, I think that's very forward-leaning. So I'm concerned on all these fronts. And you mentioned one thing before we went to the break about cyber. This is particularly concerning to me because if you think back in 2017, Russia attacked Ukraine with what was then called a NotPetya cyber attack, tried to deny service. Because cyber attacks don't know geographic boundaries, that attack caused literally tens of billions of dollars of damage to American companies. If they launch a cyber attack with full force before a kinetic invasion, it knows no geographic boundaries. The chances of that hitting American companies, maybe not targeting American companies, but hitting American companies means we need to be on guard. And what is even more concerning to me is if, for example, the Russians decided they're going to try to shut out all the lights in Ukraine and attack their power network. That could also affect Poland, which is a NATO ally. And if that were to somehow cause harm or havoc in eastern Poland with NATO forces, all of these hypotheticals about what constitutes an Article 5 violation, where you have to come to assistance of any country, NATO country that's attacked, could move from hypothetical to real. So this is a very dangerous week.
Yeah, and by the way, I looked it up here. Two different publications here rank militaries, rank the U.S. as #1 in the world, rank Russia as the #2 military in the world, and China as the #3 military in the world. This one might be a little bit hard to see. Here's another one here that ranks by their power. The numbers here are kind of a little weird here, but know that the lower the numbers, the better. So 0.00 would be perfect, most powerful. So the US is a 0.04 and Russia is a 0.05. Yeah. And so you could see here in these rankings, the US, Russia, and China are all very, very close here in this ranking of world's most powerful militaries. And remember that China recently backed Russia in kind of their stance of this, what's going on right now. Also, when you look at this here, how many people are in the U.S. Army? There's 1.4 million people in the U.S. Army and another 850,000 in the Reserve Guard. And how many people are in the Russian Army? They have about 1 million, but another 2 million in their reserve. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of the sizes. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts here. Where do you think this is going to go? What do you think is going to happen? This is going to be, from what we see here, potentially a very big week. At first, a lot of people thought that they might wait until the Olympic was over, but now Russia is moving in. They're rapidly increasing their troops, and they have Ukraine surrounded on 3 different sides now. And I don't know. It's not looking good. I'll keep you up to date here. And it doesn't look good for the U.S. here. If they attack, The stock market's probably going to drop significantly just because nothing looks good here for the U.S. This is not kind of a win-win situation because just not a it just doesn't put us in a good situation here at all. It's just not really a fun situation for us to be in. You could let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Meanwhile, because the IRS is so far behind, sent 24 million tax returns from 2020 behind, the IRS has temporarily halted collection notices. Yeah, here's what to do if you still get one. In what will undoubtedly come as relief to taxpayers who are tired of getting mail from the IRS, unless it's a refund check, right? The agency announced that it is suspending more than a dozen automated letters so that it can catch up on its massive backlog of unprocessed tax returns. The suspended letters include collection notices, balance due notices, and unfiled tax return notices. Accounting Today reported. The move comes amid mounting pressures from lawmakers and tax professionals for the IRS to get current on unprocessed returns. As previously reported by Go Banking Rates, the IRS faces a staffing shortage just as it is gearing up for a potentially complicated tax season, with filers including stimulus checks and advanced child tax credit payments on this year's returns. The agency said it will temporarily reassign 1,200 employees to help it navigate the next several months and hopefully avoid another backlog of unprocessed returns. Well, good luck with that. The IRS finally relented and said that they will go ahead with this. Quote, our efforts are not limited to the suspension of these additional letters and the possibility of similar actions going forward. IRS Commissioner Chuck Rettig said in a statement, quote, we have redeployed and reallocated resources throughout the IRS and have implemented innovative strategies in an ongoing effort to provide a meaningful reduction in our inventory. The IRS cautioned that some taxpayers and tax pros might still get notices over the next few weeks. If you get one that is outdated or has already been resolved, there's no need to call or respond to it, according to Accounting Today. But if you believe a notice is accurate, the IRS recommends working to rectify the situation. Also, I wanted to mention a comment here by Victoria Gonzalez here on one of my most recent videos. She says, hey, Jimmy, chiming in here from Ohio State. Just a quick reminder that city, tax, or township offices that collect tax payments do offer free tax preparation. So please check in with them before looking into paying for those services. In fact, many public places like the library and sometimes public schools, at least here in Ohio, offer free tax services. Also, when I Googled IRS free tax help, I found this webpage. I'll link you to this down below here in the description, as long as I don't forget. But you can see here, find a location for free tax help here directly on the IRS here. You can click it, and it takes you to the IRS volunteer. Let me zoom this in here. The IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, VITA, and the Tax Counseling for the Elderly, TCE programs offer a free tax help for taxpayers who qualify. Find a provider. And I believe it said somewhere else here, February through April. So you can put your zip code in here and apparently get free tax assistance. Yeah, here it is, from February through April. So I'll put a link down below in the description of this video for you guys. So if you do need to file a tax return, you might be able to get it done for free, potentially, through either Victoria's comment here. You can look it up through what she says here. Pause the video on that and maybe use her advice. Or through this link here on the IRS website, which I will put in the description for you. And really, that's what I'm trying to do here is just try to help you guys as much as possible every single day here on a daily basis, as well as bring you guys the latest information and news, what's going on here in our country. And really, there's just so many people still struggling here with the pandemic, and 63% of people that are behind on their bills and struggling with their bills. And, you know, the pandemic is just exacerbated, and the inflation. The problem with the pandemic is that when the country closed down, we had the recession kind of start, or the depression kind of start, and inflation kind of stopped. So instead of the normal 2% inflation going on, 2.5% inflation going on, we basically kind of went down to like 0% inflation. So what happened is, instead of that 2% inflation happening, we had no kind of inflation happening. We actually kind of seen some deflation happening. You can kind of see that with gas prices. The demand for gas kind of stopped. The country closed. You've seen gas prices plummet because the country shut down, and you've seen a lot of things like this happen where prices actually went down on a lot of things because of the demand went down because the country was closed. And then it took a long time for the country to kind of start to get back as things kind of reopen. And we've seen a lot of industries do this as well, with travel, leisure, hospitality, where they just kind of took a long time to reopen. And then what happened is that we've seen the supply chain shortages, and all these things exacerbated, and that had prices kind of spike up. So because when we have supply chain shortages, and when we have shortages, the supply and demand, they raise price. When there's a shortage on things and demand is still there, because, well, we have 330 million people in our country. So when people still need food, when people still need gas, when the country isn't closed anymore, and now normal people are going back to work, everything goes up. Because if when the demand is still there, and now there's a shortage on anything, right? You see the price go up. Well, the other problem here is that inflation is now coming back, because when you get that 0% inflation, which we had during the recession, what typically happens when you come out of recessions, the economy tends to make up for the inflation. If you study economics here, this tends to happen almost every single time when you come out of a recession. Okay, the economy tends to make up for the inflation. So when you go from that 0% inflation, you'll typically go to like maybe a 5%, or even right now we're at a 7.5% inflation, which is typically high. We're at a 40-year high, but a 40-year high means that this happened 40 years ago. So this is not like this has never happened before. It happened 40 years ago. Okay. And before that, we had some, or not previously, before that, we had 5 and 6% inflations in other recessions, because what happened is, instead of your 2 to 2.5% inflation, what happened is that you had some mini recessions in there. And what they're doing is they're just making up for that 2.5% inflation that you didn't get from the recession the year before. So you're getting that 2.5% from last year, which we didn't get, and you're adding it on top of the 2.5% that you're supposed to get normal. So there's where you get your 5%, 6%, and now we're at 7.5%, which is a little bit worse than kind of what we're expecting. So the problem with this is that as we come out of the recession, which we should be doing now, but the problem here is that this isn't a normal recession, because we have a pandemic in addition. We have a virus in addition. Okay. And that's why here we are in year 3, 2020, 2021, and now 2022. So this is kind of where this is kind of a abnormal recession or depression, because we have this virus still kind of hindering us. We just had the Omicron variant. Um, just I mean, it's just still just I mean, record amounts of people still dying here on a daily basis. And are we going to have Omicron 2.0, the BA.2 variant, which is now the dominant variant in South Africa and Hong Kong, and in all these different places in the world now? Is that going to happen again? And it's just that's the problem with this recession is that normally if we didn't have this virus, well, I mean, if we didn't have the virus, we wouldn't have this whole recession to begin with. But if you kind of like just say we would have had the recession and say the virus went away by now, we'd be out of this, okay? But the problem is this virus is still hanging around. It's still hanging around. It's still hanging around. It's still here in 2022. In fact, when we just look at this new Omicron variant that we just had, or the first variant of it, it was the worst. I mean, literally, we had days of over 1 million people testing positive. And the problem is we don't know when it's going to end, if it's going to end. We don't know if it's going to get down to sustainable levels where we can live with it, or if it's going to go away at any given point, kind of like some of the old past viruses did. Like maybe H1N1, Zika virus, some of those type of viruses were like maybe they didn't really go away forever. They're kind of still out there, but they're basically dormant. Per se, they're not really affecting us on a daily basis. They were kind of here one day and then they were kind of gone. Yeah, they're kind of out there, but not really affecting us. Is that going to happen here with this, or is it going to be more like the flu and more like the common cold? Is it going to be here around every day? Let me know your thoughts here. But that's the problem with the economy right now and with people's lives. I mean, we just don't know what's going to happen here for the rest of 2022. Are we going to continue to see new waves of this and new variants of this and people's lives being affected here on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Or is it going to go away at some point or at least get down to levels that are just like manageable? I mean, just literally 2 weeks ago, we had people, 1 million people testing positive per day. And right now, we're still seeing near record amount of people dying because, the, you know, deaths are a lagging indicator. So there's, still all those people are in the hospital fighting for their lives. Yeah. So 2022 is just, yeah, it's turning out to be the trilogy, right? If you're a movie fan, the trilogy, right? The 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah. So I don't know. You let me know your thoughts here. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., and with stimulus, everything you need to know about on a daily basis. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to subscribe now. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch our newest video next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.